Okay, welcome back. This is Right Wing Rico, and we're going to be going over the tragic crash that just happened over the Potomac River in Washington, D.C., that by all accounts should not have happened. But unfortunately, I guess I'm going to have to be the asshole today that's going to have to point out the obvious. I'm actually on a live right now.
That's huge. I mean, they're landing. He landed 3-3.
I'm on a live with
which is
15
runway
pilots.
going like southeast.
All of the pilots are white. Not one of the pilots has brought up DEI. They're all so afraid of stating the obvious, of being honest. They're so afraid of someone calling them racist or a bigot that they won't bring it up. So I'll do it. Almost a year to the damn day. February 1st, 2024. I made a huge deal out of this. I'm completely against DEI. In my opinion, diversity is a weakness, and I'm only basing that off of the NBA and the NFL. Diversity is a weakness. You don't need it. It's actually it puts people in places they don't belong based on their appearance instead of their merits and their expertise. So almost 1 year ago today was this article in the Washington Times. FAA turned away qualified air traffic controllers based solely on race. And where are we at right now? A year, not even a year. Actually, exactly a year. Two aircraft crashed into one another. Actually, an airplane and a helicopter. This should not have happened. And this is a direct result of a failure with traffic controllers communicating with these aircraft to guide them properly away from each other. We've been saying it from the beginning. DEI equals DIE. But people wanted to ignore us or say we're wrong, say we're evil because we say that there's no place for that in when it comes to flying or saving lives. But they didn't want to hear us. They didn't want to believe it. And now we have to deal with the reality of what's going on. It's an Army helicopter. And they're saying that the airplane had these figure skaters on there directly, and it's a direct mid-air collision. So what are some of the failed policies of DEI that we have been advocating against for the past over a year now? So this is the Club Rico podcast X account, Safe and Effective. You can follow me on here. But let's just go over some of these things. People have been reporting that DEI does not belong in the sky. You do not need diversity in the sky no more than you need diversity when it comes to fighting fires. How much has that cost you? How much does that cost us as a people, as a country? It's a weakness. Look, they want to make pilots that are women. Not because they're better at flying, but just because right now the country hates white people. So you want to put women of color, black women, which where do they have the expertise to do this? Where do black women have a history of excelling in this department? There's no history there. I think this is a comedy, but this is actually real. At what point are we going to finally admit that the quest to diversify the skies has finally gotten out of hand? And then they put Mayday. And it's basically there's two women in burqas flying planes. Okay, I mean, it's okay. I know we're talking about a very sensitive, serious topic right now, but let's be honest. I mean, no one's for sure saying it yet, but I'll be the first one to say it. This crash over the Potomac seems to be the result of the kind of results that we see come from DEI. There's probably a small chance that there was something else going on, but diversity in the sky is what generates these types of results. The same way diversity in firefighting and diversity in law enforcement has been generating the results that we have now. We effectively don't have a military until Trump can rebuild the ranks because of diversity. You're putting a bunch of Marxists, gays, and trans people in the military ranks. Patriots are not going to want to serve with them. And they don't want to serve with patriots. They don't want to do the work. They don't even like the country. They don't like what the country stands for. So why are we serving with them? Oh, they want to check. Oh, they want to get their bills paid. Oh, they want to get free gender mutilation surgery paid for by the government. One of the organizations that United hires, see below, is the Sisters of the Skies, committed to diversifying the skies, professional Black female pilots who are committed to supporting future Black aviators through mentorship, professional development, and outreach. I swear to God on my life, if I see 2 DEI Black pilots, I'm not boarding the plane. I will fucking walk. I will row a boat, because there's a 99, probably 100% chance they're not there based on their merits. This DEI push, this diversity push now, everything's in question. Doctors, dentists, lawyers, every industry that has been tainted by DEI the last few years, you have to question everybody you see of color in every organization now going forward to play it safe. Because you don't know if they got there based on how good they are or based on what they shove up their hoo-ha or how dark they were when they were born, which is something they have no control over. You don't know. I don't know. And I don't trust it. If I see any of these pilots, I'm not boarding the plane. I'm out of there. I'm gone. I do not need a Black lesbian to fly me nowhere, because that's a pointless. That's just pointless. Just like it's pointless to have a Black lesbian in my fire department. They can't carry a man out, or they can't perform the duties that are required. They didn't even pass the test. They didn't have the information. They didn't score well enough, but they were still pushed through for diversity quotas that had to be met for them to solidify funding from banks. Because see, that's where a lot of the DEI stuff comes from. It actually stems from ESG, which is environmental social governance. And what they do is they have an ESG score that they give to banks. Banks are scored based on which companies they're lending to, and their ESG score goes higher. The more the people who they're lending to, the higher their ESG scores are. How do they get ESG scores to go up as a business? Well, you have to implement DEI practices. So that's when you have to advertise that you're hiring a certain amount of Blacks and gays. Even if they're not qualified, you're doing it for money, because you have to show the bank that you have a diverse pool working for you. They have to present it to the people above them, and they then administer the funding based off of your ESG scores. Now, this is all top down from the World Economic Forum, which is ran by gay men, and they are literally reshaping the Western world in their own image. But unfortunately, there are going to be tragedies. There are going to be plane crashes. There's going to be fires where it's just, you're going to wonder what level of DEI is incompetence. People put diversity when you want to bring down a business, bring down an industry, or in our case, when you want to bring down a country. Why do you think Trump was smart enough to purge all the DEI people out of our government? I would have done the same thing, but I would have made it abundantly clear that I'm purging these people because they are purposely put in there to be incompetent, to bring down industries. Look at this, 30 bodies recovered so far. How often does this happen? It shouldn't ever, and it doesn't really happen here. But what has there been a huge push to do? Diversify the skies. And look, people were talking about this January 9th, 2024. This is your captain speaking. I'd like to give a big shout out to United Airlines Affirmative Action Program for my new job. I don't think it gets any more clear than this. What percentage of the population are Black females? 7%. Why do you need to, what does that got to do? Why must they be represented in the airlines? Why do they must be represented in, why do they have to be traffic controllers or in the skies? Literally, this is a culture of people that culturally they hate the country. Culturally, they hate their white counterparts. It's a part of the culture. Why must you pretend that you don't know this? Why must we lie to ourselves and think, oh, this is not what's really happening and yada, yada. This is what's really going on. They're injecting these people into these businesses or in positions in our government to bring things down. The World Economic Forum, they want you to own nothing and be happy by 2030. They want you to no longer eat meat. They want you to eat the bugs. Also, they don't want you to travel. They want you to live and die within 15 minutes of where you were born. No more traveling, no more flying. And with enough with enough problems with airlines and Boeing falling out of the sky, doors falling off, and now this, you get 4 or 5 more of these crashes in a short period of time, they're going to start grounding flights. And now we're in the World Economic Forum Agenda 2030. No more traveling by air. And if you're in electric cars, those are also going to be limited to only work in the 15-minute cities. That means electric vehicles will not work in between cities and in between states. You're going to only be able to use them in your area. That's the whole plan with these 15-minute cities. And that's why Trump did the right thing by getting rid of the electric mandate, which is bullshit. It's nonsense. It didn't make any sense at all. Forcing car companies to start going electric. Why? Electric cars are not better for the environment. They also run off of gas. Where do you think electricity comes from? Solar? Unicorn urine? No, electricity is generated from turbines that run on coal, oil, gasoline, things that burn. It's a turbine. The cleanest option that we have is the one that they use cartoons to brainwash us in the 90s, like Toxic Crusaders, to make you not want to use this other source because they couldn't monopolize it like they do oil. And that is nuclear. We could have had turbines that run on nuclear energy, and we could have been powering cities for damn near for free. But that cuts into the pockets, that cuts into industry. And don't forget, we do have a society. These industries must be maintained because we have to maintain our status quo. If you remove one industry, everything could stop or break down, and we really couldn't afford that. Now you can gradually start integrating nuclear and bring down prices slowly until it's replaced, but just abruptly, no. And what they try to do with this electric nonsense was abrupt. And now people are finding out the loopholes. I have an electric car. Something went wrong, and I think I hit something with the car back in October. The car is still in the shop because they are so extremely difficult to fix, and no one works on them. So if you have an electric car and you get into something, a small fender bender, you still have to make the car payment, but you're not going to have the car for months, especially if it's a Tesla like me. There is no, you can't just take it to another shop and just anybody can work on it. Oh no. So that whole scam has to be undone. And after this Tesla, I'll never buy another electric car again. I thought I wanted the Cybertruck, but what if the power goes out? There's going to have to be a diesel. There's going to be like a tow truck that runs on diesel, literally, or it's going to have to come and charge my car or tow my car. It's a scam. That's it. Now, when I first bought it, I thought I looked cool because I had the butterfly doors go up, and I was like, yeah, I'm him. But to be honest with you, it's not practical, especially when you're driving long distances and you're not just going, to and fro, close to where you live. Sorry about the noise. I have a foster pup, and he followed me into my little makeshift studio here and decided to sleep, and he snores very loud because he's an English bulldog. So that's Bacon. Bacon, you okay? Okay, he's okay. So anyway, until these pigment hired women are hired just to prove that they're, what are you trying to? All this is meant to just destroy these industries. UPS invested in and is focused on hiring black female pilots. That is my problem. This is verbatim what they said about Kamala Harris, and everyone wanted to argue with me. I'm not arguing with you people. Joe Biden said I wanted to hire a black female vice president. Nothing to do with I wanted to hire a smart, intelligent, unbiased woman who is grounded, who understands the Constitution, who loves our country. No, he wanted to hire a woman to be his vice president based on her physical characteristics. The same way Joe Biden would have decided who is going to be his private stripper for the night is the same way he chose who would be the vice president for our freaking republic based on your appearance, which is ridiculous. Nothing based on merits, not your education. Matter of fact, she's been working in California. She's a failure, a horrible politician. She can't really talk to people. She's extremely awkward. Everything she did was, she even admitted to keeping prisoners who were either found innocent or should have been released longer so that she could get free slave labor out of them when it came to fighting fires, which how much good did that do? They're not using the prisoners to clean the brush out so that there are no fires. They use them at the last minute. So UPS said this January 10th, 2024. We're in January 2025. It's a year later. And we have helicopters and airplanes over the Potomac in Washington, D.C., the most restricted airspace in the country. We have now planes crashing into each other. Why? UPS invested in and is focused on hiring black female pilots to diversify the skies. I don't want my freaking skies diversified. Leave them white. Leave my skies the way they are. I do not need you bringing diversity, equity, and inclusion nonsense so you can raise your ESG score, so you can qualify for funding from these institutions. Screw it. Get funding from another source. We cannot do this. Not even a year ago, January last year is when they announced they want to diversify the skies. They want to do diverse traffic controllers, diverse pilots, and everyone's looking like, well, what about the best pilots, the most experienced traffic controllers? What do you mean you wanted? What the hell does how this person look matter? I'm telling you, as a patriot, I can tell you guys, I'm looking at where this is going. All of this is leading towards the public. The way the public rejected Kamala Harris, if the World Economic Forum and the media keeps trying to force black people to be loved and to put in front of everybody and just rubbing them in our faces, it's going to cause society to reject them as a whole and not want to work with them, be neighbors with them, deal with them at all, which is already the case now. Even black people, once they get money, they move as far away from each other as possible. They don't want to live nowhere near each other. And this is going to cause a rejection of black people. The culture has already been rejected, but individuals, because now you have to ask yourself, why do all the people that look like this think the same way? For them, this makes sense. Oh yeah, let's diversify the skies. Think they care about safety? Do you think they care about experience? No. They care about tribalism. They care about, just being able to say someone who looks like them. What do I give a damn what you look like? I don't even look at the pilot when I'm flying. I just want to make sure he's the best pilot. I want my family to arrive safely. I don't want my family to have to risk their lives just to get on an airplane because you want to put someone in there who they don't even have a history of being good pilots. And they're not saying white women, Asian women, just women in general. They're being specific. And if we have learned anything, even before Kamala Harris, black women particularly have been weaponized against our republic. If you go on the internet right now, go on Facebook, go on Twitter, go on Instagram, the biggest critics against Donald Trump for getting rid of pedophiles and arresting rapists and deporting criminals, the only people who like rapists and want to keep the pedophiles here and hate Donald Trump more than they hate pedophiles are black women. The ones who are trying to convince you that you're a bad person for voting for Trump, the ones that are trying to manipulate you into being a Democrat and supporting gay kids and trans kids. Think about it. Only black women like trans kids and gay kids. Nobody likes gay kids. I don't. No one likes what Dwayne Wade did to his son. And nobody likes Magic Johnson's kid. You know, the big one that dresses like a fucking feather. No one wants to see a walking flamingo, a giant black flamingo floating around. Nobody wants to. No one want to invite Magic to anything. What if he shows up? You see EJ. No one likes it. Just black women. But and so you specifically, the ones who have been weaponized against us by the World Economic Forum, because they control our media, they control our cabinets. They've admitted it. They've chosen one group to be a Trojan horse because they're already here. They have citizenship and they speak English. And then they're also able to influence other people to join them in their imaginary crusade against white people, conservatives, and people with families. Because that's what it comes down to, an envy of the white family structure. That's all it ever comes down to. Pilots are usually white males who have families, but their fathers were pilots, and they come from a long line of it, just like firefighters and policemen. Usually your kids want to be like your father. Excuse me, but when you come from a broken community of confused people, you don't have family, you don't have lineage, you don't have any of those things. So you envy and you are jealous and you hate those that do. We should all know this by now. We all live in the same country. We've seen this for years. To pretend that we don't see it is going to be dangerous and it's going to be detrimental. Just ask the people who are not coming home today that were on those flights. Mid-air collision. Mid-freaking air. Unbelievable. And I'm the first one. I'm the only one that's going to bring it up. No one else is going to say, hey, you know, there was some DEI going on here. No one notices. No one's thinking about it. Just me. Like that's impossible. You know, that's impossible in my opinion. So, and I'm watching these.
Runway 33 for Atlas 322. Future 15, go out, know the ways, all they want to take off. American 3130 with your runway 1. American 3130 walking turn 1 star 3, 1 third 1 4, 25, runway 16 land. Check for the main park right.
They're saying that the plane was diverted last minute.
A plane carrying 64 people has collided with a helicopter in Washington, D.C. At 8:47 local time, the American airline flight 5342 was coming into land at the Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport when it hit a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter. Both aircraft crashed into the Potomac River, with the plane breaking into 2 pieces. An unnamed source has said that around 19 bodies have been recovered from the river, but so far, no death toll has been given.
Well, what that tells me is that there are survivors. So let's thank God for that. But, I mean, at what cost? I mean, how many more incidents are we going to have to take before we realize that we can't even risk trying something new? This is not the time to try to reinvent the wheel and all of a sudden in 2024, 2025, let's diversify. Look at what it did to Los Angeles. What good did diversity do when it came to stopping the fires? The fires that are still going on right now, actually. Those fires, and the fires are not diverse. They're all still red. they're shades of red and yellow. The fires aren't diverse. We don't need diverse firefighters. We don't need anything diverse. Diversity is a weakness. You know, I got invited to come on some shows and talk about this, and I've done Clubhouse interviews and I've done these other interviews, but people want to be in the dark. They want to argue with me about race. I don't want to talk to you about race. That conversation's been over. I don't argue with people about the vaccine anymore. That conversation's been over. If you did it to yourself, you did it to yourself. It's too late now. The only thing I can do is give you advice based on my own research on how to mitigate the damage that it caused and to probably extend your life. the topic about race is over. I can just tell you about how to avoid letting people manipulate you into accepting DEI and lower class and lower end people doing jobs that they don't have the skills to do. I can talk to you about that and give you the points, but if you're afraid someone who looks like me is going to shame you into submission, you're going to just get on your knees and stick your tongue out and just, Jesus, but you listen, grow a backbone. So what somebody calls you a name? Since when do you care what people call you? Everyone's not going to love you. Sometimes you're going to have to be an adult and do what's right because it's what's best for you, your family, and your future. Don't let these people shame you into nothing. Remember, you have a family and future. They don't have families. So of course they want to watch this place burn. They're celebrating these plane crashes. They're asking right now how many black people were on board. If there was none, they're doing cartwheels. And you want to diversify and put people in charge it basically can cause these collisions midair if they want to, that can control these planes to go down. And no one wants to even consider that these are things that could have happened. First day in, this would have been something instantly. Think about it. Not even a year ago. This is just on my timeline. And I went over this stuff extensively. But again, the FAA turned away air traffic controllers. They turned away qualified air traffic controllers based solely on race because they were white. Just so that they can put somebody black there who doesn't know what the hell they're doing, who doesn't care about what they're doing. They don't want to work anyway. They're just doing it. February 1st, we're 2 days away from there, almost a year. This is almost prophetic. This is prophecy. The Washington Times is damn near predicted this. This is crazy. But I'm the asshole. I'm the bad guy because I bring it up and I make these points. Whatever. I'll be the bad guy. Make me the bad guy. That's fine. Follow the bad guy. Follow my YouTube page. I'm building up a bad guy following on there. It's a new page. My other page has been censored to hell because of what I talk about. So I have to make a new page where I just dance around certain things that I say. Whatever. I'm on Rumble. I can talk whatever I want to talk on there. I love Rumble's infrastructure. And I'm here on X. A lot of you guys are watching on X, which is great. Follow this little show I'm doing. Share it, and let's figure this out because we can't let this happen again. But as long as there's an option of people wanting to diversify the skies, and you got to think about it, these companies hire gay people to be management. And what did the gay people do with their management positions? They start these campaigns about diversifying the skies, and they want to bring in black women. If you can't see that there's a coordinated effort against bringing down our republic brick by brick, if you cannot see that there is collusion happening in front of us, then you're blind. Now the best I can do is point it out to you. I can show you where the water is. I'm not going to force you to drink. You're going to have to drink for yourself. You're going to have to put your big boy or big girl panties on, and you're going to have to go after you're going to have to get up from watching this video with me in it. You're going to have to turn around and you're going to have to explain to other people around you what's happening because they don't know. They're not watching these interviews. They're not tuned in. You are. That means you're different than other people. You're going to have to explain to them what's happening because in the confusion is where that's where the fear cultivates because no one knows what's happening. You need to explain to people what's going on. I'll be honest with you. Because of all these DEI and diversity tactics, I'm nervous about flying now. I don't want to fly. That's why I'm in Texas now. For the most part, there's enough big cities. If I got to do something, I can do it. I got multiple cities I can just drive to. Having to get on an airplane, if I don't know that the pilot is a diversity hire until the last minute, I'm stuck. I wouldn't go to a surgeon that was a DEI. I wouldn't go to a dentist. I wouldn't go to a doctor that's DEI. I don't even want to go to a restaurant that's DEI. Because it means that the people working there are not there based on the merits and their experience and their expertise. They're there for superficial, shallow, idiotic reasons. Yeah, this one right here, this takes the cake, though. I'm sorry. Call me whatever you want to call me, but This is funny as shit. And look at this. It's like, and this is the worst part. So this is obviously somewhere in California. They're just normalizing chemicals being sprayed. You know, where I'm from in LA, we call this an attack. When we see these skies look like this above us every day, we say, yeah, we were under attack today, spraying chemicals and metals that just sit above you. The only place I've ever seen skies look this bad is in California. And I've been all over the world. I've lived in other countries. I live in Texas now. The skies are blue. You would rarely ever see one streak here and there. But in California, it's been a grid every day since, what, 2011? Just spraying. Yeah, and they're speaking English, so it probably is California. I mean, I heard the skies look like that in the UK too, but I'm not sure. Unbelievable. And again, another black woman wants to basically take down, if they give this big, huge woman who no one wants to ride in their car because she can't fit properly unless you're in an SUV or some kind of a trailer. You don't want this woman riding with you. It's just, you know, basically she's threatening the life of your car. So this is a death threat. And now if they give her one penny, the floodgates are going to open and you'll watch a company like Lyft capitulate, because all morbidly obese people can literally make the same claim and say, hey, I just didn't record it, but they discriminated against me. They canceled the ride and they saw me and then they canceled. So if you'll honor this frivolous lawsuit, then you'll honor the others. Again, it's a coordinated effort. They're using black women for everything. I don't know if you ever watch anything that's evil or anything bad happening in the country right now. For the most part, you're going to see a black female face that has something to do with it, because they know you're afraid of black women. You're afraid to fight them. You're afraid of them yelling at you. You're afraid of a confrontation. So they use them. They're weaponized. But this is just unbelievable. We got planes going down and no one knows why.
I'm the mayor of Washington.
Oh, another one. You don't see this as coordinated. You don't see a pattern. I'm crazy. I'm the crazy one. There's a literal pattern happening right before your eyes. All these men back here cucked. All of them afraid because this black woman can claim victimhood and get any of them fired. And one of them should be here speaking. But instead, look who's here.
We are here at Reagan National Airport to provide an...
Only 7% of the population, apparently, but they're in everything. Why? Literally been pushed into the forefront for the last 4 years. And they're everywhere they should not be. And that has consequences.
Update on the tragic events of last night. I'm joined by U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, D.C. Fire and EMS Chief John Donnelly, American Airlines CEO Robert Eisen, the MWA, the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority CEO Jack Carter, United States Senator Mark Warner, United States Senator Tim Kaine, U.S. Representative Don Beyer, as well as the Chief of the Metropolitan Police Department, Pamela Smith. And we are joined by first responders from the loss of life. Last night, who ran towards danger, went into a very frigid river, and have worked throughout the night. Chief Donnelly reported in last night's briefing that we have a strong mutual aid agreement in our region, and those teams have...
You would know that
what happened.
This
yeah,
was
let's hear what he
member
has.
of this team that's been assembled, working tirelessly. Mayor, I want to thank you specifically for your work. A few details I'd like to give all of you, and some of you reported this, but last night, if you live in the DC area, you would know that this was a clear night last night.
That means it wasn't weather related. It wasn't foggy. There was no rain. There was nothing that should have made these two planes crash into each other. Besides, they were taking verbatim orders from traffic control. And that's what this is probably going to come down to. I'm guaranteeing this, because traffic control are the only ones who would have told them to make a left and turn into something or make a right. They're following verbatim because it's nighttime too. And they're just following orders. And I'm pretty sure we'll figure that out.
Helicopter was in a standard pattern
If you live in the DC area, you'll see helicopters up and down the river. This flight pattern is seen oftentimes when you live in DC. This was a standard flight pattern last night as well. The American airline flight coming into land was in a standard flight pattern as it was coming into DCA. So this was not unusual with a military aircraft flying the river and aircraft landing at DCA. And again, if you live in the area, you'll see that frequently with those two aircraft working together. As many of you have reported, we have located the two aircrafts. The fuselage of the American airline plane was inverted. It's been located in 3 different sections. It's in about waist deep water. So that recovery is going to go on today as that recovery takes place of the fuselage of the aircraft. NTSB is going to start to analyze that aircraft, partner with the FAA with all the information we have to get the best results possible for the American people. I would just say that safety is our expectation. Everyone who flies in American skies expects that we fly safely.
Absolutely.
An airport, you get to your destination. That didn't happen last night.
I mean, listen, what did he say? He said that the plane was in a standard landing pattern. The helicopter was in a standard, moving pattern. So what he's saying is that there was nothing wrong with the trajectory of either plane. The failure was caused somewhere else, is what he's saying. I'm just waiting for him to admit where the failure came and to have the balls. Someone's gonna have to have the balls to come out and say what actually happened and to just take the arrows in the back, because no one's gonna want to be the bearer of this kind of bad news. If it is something DEI related, whoever announces it is going to be literally made a public enemy number 1 temporarily. And look at these guys; they're all scared to death, and none of them really want to talk, demoralized because they see what happens when you do, and none of them want to be the next Daniel Penny, unfortunately.
And I mean, President Trump, his administration, the FAA, the DOT, we will not rest until we have answers for the families and for the flying public. You should be assured that when you fly, you're safe. Thank you.
And this is from 1 hour ago. Now, I'm not sure what the next guy is going to have to say that's any different than this guy. I mean, it would probably just be redundant, but we'll give it a listen. Oh, he got his glasses.
Thank you, Secretary. Thank you, Mayor. I'm joined today
You're welcome.
with Fire Chief Bonnet from the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority, and I'm John Donnelly, Chief of the District of Columbia Fire and EMS Department. Last night at 8:48, the control tower sounded an alert, which alerts responders to respond to a report of an aircraft crash on or near the airport. That sets off an immediate response from the airport.
He mentioned the air traffic controllers once already, so we're getting warmer. Watch, this is going to come down to something to do with the air traffic controllers. Watch.
Authority Fire Department from the District of Columbia and Metropolitan Harbor Patrol fire boats and other fire boats on the river in order to support that type of operation. Very quickly, this call escalated. It became apparent, the responders realized that they had a plane crash and immediately escalated to a response that ultimately included about 300 people last night.
Wait a minute. So you mean there wasn't a mayday? There wasn't an SOS? You just had somebody just figured out that there was a crash. No one told them, hey, there's like a head-on collision coming. So you mean to tell me neither one of them, because they both have lights fitted. So neither one had lights. Neither one saw the other one in front of each other and said, hey, mayday, we're crashing into it. We're coming. Like they just figured it out. It seems like somebody's missing some information here.
These responders found extremely frigid conditions. They found heavy wind. They found ice on the water. They operated all night in those conditions.
Well, I mean, it's frozen. It's winter. That has nothing to do with the planes that are in air.
I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the agencies that responded in addition to DC Fire, people from the plane and one from the helicopter. District Office of the Medical Examiner has lead on reuniting these bodies and these people with their loved
How many people
police,
died?
the Metropolitan Police Department, the FBI, and the NTSB. Despite all those efforts, we are now at a point where we are switching from a rescue operation to a recovery operation. At this point, we don't believe there are any survivors from this accident. And we have recovered 27 people from the plane.
Oh, he's saying there's no survivors. I thought there was at least some survivors. That's what it seemed like. But now he's saying that this is no longer a rescue, it's just recovery. Oh, wow.
One from the helicopter. District Office of the Medical Examiner has lead on reuniting these bodies and these people with their loved ones, and we will continue to work to find all the bodies and collect them and reunite them with their loved ones. We should also acknowledge that the Virginia Medical Examiner and the Army Medical Examiner are involved in this operation and a very important part of getting.
Really heartbroken for the family and loved ones that collided with a military aircraft on an otherwise normal approach. And at this time, we don't know why the military aircraft came into the path of the PSA aircraft. Flight 5342, a CRJ 700, was under the command of 4 crew members. They carried 60 passengers, as you know, for a total of 64 people on board. In addition to local resources already here in DC, American Airlines has activated our care team. And that's a group of specialists that are trained to support these types of responses. These team members are on site or arriving soon. And additionally, we have members of our GO team that are on ground here in DC, and they're being deployed with resources to do everything that we can to take care of the needs of the families and the loved ones of the passengers and crew members. And that is our sole focus. And we're so grateful for the first responders that have been working through the night, courageous efforts.
They're not really saying anything. Shock to the... Okay, and so let's listen to this. It says the plane crash, a shock to the system. Okay, what's shocking? Because a crash is a crash. Things happen. There's accidents. But if this wasn't an accident, then there was incompetence. That means somebody purposely was incompetent or was not doing their job. But that would shock the system. An accident happening won't shock the system because things happen. So that's an insinuation that it's probably something deliberate.
On the scene, getting set to host America Report's been helping us out this morning. He knows the area, knows the routine, knows aviation. So John, there are some reports that even overnight they were pulling out some bodies. Have you been able to confirm anything like that?
We have not heard reports from police where I am yet. I mean, that's probably what the situation is. The emergency services launch into action so quickly when something like this happens. Remember, a little more than a week ago, there was a car accident on the Arlington Memorial Bridge. A pickup truck went off the bridge and into the Potomac River, and divers were on the scene within a number of minutes. So when something like this happens, they're always prepared for the worst and to respond to it. There are so many police agencies around here. The Coast Guard is just a little bit up the way. We see the Coast Guard helicopters flying here all the time. So they are well equipped to respond to an emergency like this. But it's still such a shock to the system here in Washington, D.C. that something like this happens. It was back in 1982, the last time that a plane went down in the Potomac River. You'll remember the Air Florida flight. And so much going on today in D.C. as well. Confirmation hearings for the FBI director nominee, Kash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard as well for ODNI. Those hearings, as we understand, are going to go ahead today because, as Tom Cotton was saying, as Sean Duffy was saying, it really drives home the importance of the president having his national security team and all of his support staff and advisors in place. Because when you've got to respond to something like this, you want to make sure that you've got your team in place. Sure. Now, as for how this happened, you heard Lucas Tomlinson talking about it a little bit earlier.
Okay, let's hear it.
These planes come in and out of Reagan all day. They do share airspace, very crowded airspace, with a lot of official helicopters as well.
But this doesn't happen every day.
Park Police helicopter came over us just a little while ago. Again, the Coast Guard is flying here. We always see the President's Marine One helicopters training out of Joint Base Ballin. It is very, very crowded airspace. Clearly, there's no civilian aircraft that are flying in the area because of severe flight restrictions. But you do get a lot of official aircraft and commercial aircraft coming in and out of here. And every time you fly in, because particularly if you come from the north with that meandering river route for security and noise abatement reasons, you wonder, is something going to go wrong? Could something go wrong here? Because it is a very tenuous approach. From the south, it's a lot easier. But no, I mean, whoever would have thought that there would be a collision between two aircraft, because it's just so tightly regulated here, Brian, that something like this.
So, John,
This was not an accident. This was not an accident.
Here is really a shock.
So, John,
It's crowded airspace that's extremely controlled. The president's personal guards use that. Secret Service. The White House is there. This is extremely guarded airspace. Accidents like this do not just happen. So that's what he's saying, and that's what's going to come out, I'm sure. This was deliberate, but a deliberate, I wouldn't say a deliberate mistake, but it was a deliberate action that would, I'm in my opinion, this is going to come down to air traffic control. These planes are guided by the air traffic controllers. Someone guided them into each other. And that's what he's saying, that this is going to be a shock to the system.
Takes the lead here. Okay, so obviously you got a commercial aircraft, so you got FAA involved with that. But you also have a military aircraft with that Black Hawk helicopter, so that's DOD. Who's going to lead this investigation in this case?
Well, typically in any kind of incident involving an aircraft, it's the National Transportation Safety Board that takes the lead. But the fact that there is a military aircraft that's involved here probably would involve the Pentagon as well. We'll probably hear from the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, at some point today about how this investigation is going to proceed. But right now, search and rescue is the order of the day, and you have got literally every agency out here that's got assets in the water, in the air as well.
So they don't know anything on Fox. Now, there's another Fox Business interview. Aviation analyst for bulldozing front of FAA's.
Welcome back. Good Thursday morning. Thank you for being here. I'm Maria Bartiromo, and it is Thursday, January 30th. It is 8:02 on the East Coast. We've got breaking news this morning on the mid-air collision of an American Airlines commercial jet and an Army Black Hawk helicopter over D.C. last night. Officials are saying 27 bodies from the jet and 1 body from the chopper have been recovered. 28 bodies recovered. In Wichita, Kansas, 3 soldiers were said to be on board the military chopper. Terrifying audio captured the moment the crash happened last night.
Okay, let's hear this.
Black Tech 3, can you return to base? Black Tech 3, proceed directly to Glaze. I need you to land. I need you to land at the Can you go to Dallas for a few minutes? Can you go to Baltimore?
President Trump has been briefed on the situation. He said on Truth Social, this is a bad situation that looks like it should have been prevented. Joining me now on the phone is Boyd Group International President and Aviation Analyst, Mike Boyd. Mike, thank you very much for weighing in. Your reaction?
Look, this is a problem we have with air traffic control. Mr. Duffy has to do something about this. We've messed around with air traffic control for 30 years. Now we have deaths in the Potomac because of it. So this is a wake-up call for the new administration, which means fix the FAA and fix it soon before more people die.
The FAA has been corrupted by DEI and ESG policies for the past 4 years. They've been, well, they started 4 years ago. They started really doing the heavy integration about a year ago. So we've been having lots of problems with the FAA for the past year, actually longer, but it's been since this administration took over. And now they're all urging, we're going to get more bodies if Trump doesn't hurry up and purge DEI hires and DEI practices from the FAA. No one wants to say it yet because it's too premature, because everybody's worried about being shamed or whatever. I'm not. I'll be one of the first ones, and now you can go tell other people that what we've discussed.
You are attributing this and putting the blame on air traffic control and the FAA. Why? Specifically, tell us what was wrong.
We had
What did I say?
Two flying machines run into each other over the Potomac.
What did I say? I called it.
Now,
I
Who
called
knows?
it.
We have all kinds of human issues here, but the fact is we've had near miss after near miss for the past umpteen of years. Now we've had a collision. The collision is the responsibility of the FAA and the air traffic control system. Somebody failed.
So tell me how it's possible that a Black Hawk helicopter entered the airspace or the path of a commercial airliner.
You know, they let it happen, number one. Number two, the fact is we are dependent upon humans, and humans make mistakes. There's no question about it. But the very fact we had a Black Hawk helicopter that was in the path, basically, of the approach to Washington National Airport, that is a problem.
That's a huge problem.
This is why we don't have helicopters of a lot of over New York City anymore, because they ran into each other or they crashed into a building. It's the same thing here. So there was a major failure here, and that helicopter shouldn't have been there. The airplane should have, but not the helicopter.
Well, obviously, there's a major failure somewhere, but Sean Duffy, the new transportation secretary, a moment ago, was out on that press conference saying that the paths were standard, that the jet coming in was following a standard plan, and that Black Hawk helicopter was on its own standard plan. The two can't make sense together. In fact, there was this failure. So if he's saying this, they were on their standard paths, why didn't the air traffic control see it?
Because we have a bad air traffic control system that, unfortunately, his predecessors have tolerated. They've talked about it, but they've tolerated it. And the fact is, yes, if both was doing the right thing, something was wrong with the system, and that means people died because of it, which means Mr. Duffy has to turn around and say something was really wrong here. We have to change it and change it right now. I fear he's just going to warm that seat like his predecessors did, and I hope I'm real wrong. But he never even mentioned that at his hearings. He never said anything about the dangers in air traffic control or other things. So this is a wake-up call for the Trump administration.
What past precedents regarding air traffic control issues are you referring to?
Number one, across the country, do a news search of near misses. We had another near miss between two airplanes, about 2 weeks ago. So they've been reported over and over again. Now, a lot of them are human error, but the fact of the matter is we shouldn't have human error when we have people on airplanes. So we do have an air traffic control system that isn't working, and he just admitted it. The helicopter was doing what we were supposed to do, and the PSA airplane was doing what we were supposed to do, and now people are dead.
Do me a favor. Go to Safe and Effective Pod on YouTube and follow the page. And if you can, follow and share on X and Instagram. This is an important topic. If you agree, then follow me and we'll talk some more. But this is just amazing. But I'm glad somebody's calling it like it is.
Somebody has a system that doesn't work, and he has to change it. It is in his lap.
What specifically do you believe officials will be investigating with regard to the air traffic control and the FAA?
There should be DEA.
Well, number one, what the
DEI.
This are going to investigate right away. But on a wider level, we have to look at why have we had near misses over the past several years? Why was this a
several is another way of saying four. Several.
Tragedy today? If he says both vehicles or both flying machines were doing what they should have been doing? It's our system that is bad, and that's what has to be looked at. To be honest with you, Maria, we need to take a bulldozer to the front of the FAA. This is bad management, and it's putting us at risk.
All right, Mike, we're going to.
Sounds like DEI to me. So anyway, do me a favor, like and subscribe to the page. I'll be back on shortly. We'll go over to some other topics in the morning. This is the America First Daily Show, and we'll be back with some other topics. This is a video from our sponsor, cosigning.com. If you're looking to move to a new apartment, but you don't have a friend or a family member that you can ask to be your cosigner, reach out to our friends at co-signing.com today. They will match you with a qualified cosigner to help you get the apartment of your dreams. So thank you. We'll be back shortly.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.